It might cause drama, but I don't care. 120,000 euros.
For me, all of that sounds like a lot of money.
Like, this is the first time I'm mentioning it publicly as well.
You had the agreement with Whisker to pay his invoices for March and for the half of April, right?
I myself made a decision not to pay him. We don't need bosses in the space. We need gaffers. I'm not gonna pay someone for existing. Ultraliga wouldn't have LAN finals if it wasn't me forcing them.
Give me more of that. And the last one, I have overstepped many times in my statements on X.
No.
I saw a bit of hesitation behind that. Hi, HEBI. I was actually thinking about how to start this interview.
Yeah,
but honestly,
we
we don't have any structure, so I'm just gonna introduce you. We have HEBI with me, who's the CEO, the owner, the legend behind the Z10 brand. I'm Maguire. I'll be your host. I will be your interviewer, and you will be my interviewee. Let's keep it down low. Let's keep it cool. How are you today? How have
I'm
you
good.
been?
I'm grateful to be here, especially because in my, let's say, 7 years of Z10, and even before that, maybe 4 years of me trying to be a professional player, this is also my first eSport interview.
I was actually about to ask you, because I was not sure. I know that you've been really vocal on your social media, but I couldn't actually find an actual interview, maybe a written one, maybe. But in the form of video, this is your actual first interview.
Actual serious one. Let's say, now you reminded me, there was one maybe 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was more of a casual talk with a mic. It wasn't really planned. No
okay,
questions.
so back and forth.
Yeah, it wasn't really an interview. It was more of like a...
Yeah, we do have some structure. We sent you the questions before the interview. Yeah. I don't want this interview to be super serious in the tone, because we gather here to just talk about a bunch of stuff that concerns you, Z10 in general, but also a little bit of what is happening on the Polish scene, because obviously you're one of the biggest, if not the biggest player on the Polish esports scene. So you also told me that you stayed up late watching G2 today, right?
Yeah, watching Nervarian's channel.
Oh yeah,
listening to you. Yeah.
Yeah, we are recording this right after G2 won against GAM.
Who's the other caster?
Ikar.
He was in like a fluffy.
Yeah.
outfit.
We actually had an idea to both come in like pajamas, but I flanked out, so he was left alone. But he stuck with it, so I'm happy for him. Are you following like esports a lot, watching broadcasts lives on your daily basis, or you don't have time for that?
I do. It depends on the type of tournament. Obviously, sometimes I don't even watch Rift Legends, or my CS
Understandable.
team, because it's very painful to endure the tilts that they create,
Oh, the tilts in their play, or the reactions from the people that are watching also? And,
No,
writing
not
in
the
chat?
reactions. Them. Like when I see them throw a Baron, it really pains me. It makes me feel like so. How do you say it? Powerless in a way.
Yeah, I can see that you are one of those people that stand behind the organization and actually care about what is happening. I mean, I remember you playing in one of the games.
Yeah.
Because of your, let's say, strong opinions and views about how the players did that, but we are not going to circle back on that. I have a bunch of questions.
Okay.
We will start with the ones that I want you to answer with yes or no, so they will be quick. You ready for that?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, so we will start big. Rift Legends is doing a better job than Ultraliga.
Yes.
Great, we will come back to that. Waluciak, you probably know him because he's been quite vocal on social
my
media.
biggest fan.
Fan number one, the biggest fan.
Fan number one.
Do you think he should be cancelled, kicked out from the league for his, actions, opinions, what he's saying online?
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
We support that. Great. Your employee can also be your friend.
Yes.
I saw a bit of hesitation behind that. It was a difficult answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll probably also mention that during our interview. Okay. I have hired a lot of people that didn't bring anything to my organization.
Yes.
I do care about the criticism from the community.
Yes.
So you do care.
I care.
Okay. Yeah, because we've discussed that behind the cameras. That
I think everyone knows about it. Like I answer to a lot of comments as well on social media. So just from that, they can see that I care. Because most people, I know some org owners that never reply, and that's when you don't care, you know.
Yeah, probably one of the examples that I have in my mind is the CEO of Fnatic. He's not usually that vocal, and I feel
he's very vocal when he's winning.
Yeah. He only logs on Twitter whenever Fnatic is doing something. In recent years, not that often. Maybe it will change with the new addition to their squad. Okay, next question. In esports, there's a lot of false people.
Yes.
Yep. Z10 will make it to LEC one day.
Yes.
Oh, that's great to hear. We'll also mention that. And the last one, I believe that I have overstepped many times in my statements on X.
Yes.
Okay. I can see that there is some self-reflection as well about that. That's great. Okay, so we have yes or no questions out of the way. And I wanted to start with more general topic about how it is, from your perspective, to be the CEO of an org that I don't want to say recently, but some years ago has made entrance into Polish scene. How it is different from the times that you have been focused on Balkan scene.
I think the best answer would be to start off with, in the Balkan scene, there's one, it's like a monopoly. There's one entity, a media company that's running everything. It's Fortuna. And basically they've been running EBL for quite a while now, probably since birth of it. Before it was named FCS, like Fortuna Championship Series. Then they realized, oh, it's not ringing a bell. Let's make it more Balkan. And then bring in more countries, get Riot approved, yada, yada. And at the start of this podcast, or I'm not sure if I mentioned it off podcast, but basically this is my first time I'm being interviewed, right?
Yeah.
So in the esports field. So that means in the Balkans, I was never interviewed by any one of them. So that kind of gives you an introduction to when I moved to Poland. It was very much an eye-opening experience, a breath of fresh air, even though things here also don't function.
Okay. Do you feel like you're getting more recognition in Poland?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think even if we have this, like, we have a lot of fans, right? We're very big in Poland. But even if that's small compared to some bigger brands, bigger orgs, bigger individual brands.
Could you name some examples?
What's the guy that you named that was sitting there?
Patets?
Yes.
Oh, but he's, like a content creator.
Yeah, but also on an individual level, but also, let's say, Illuminar back in Prime days there was a golden something team named as well.
Pompa team?
I think before Pompa.
Kick?
No, before Golden something.
Oh, Golden 5, the CS guys. Yeah. The Virtus Pro, right?
So there's a lot of teams that are much bigger, and we're kind of trying to push there in that field in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years. But the idea is obviously we're always going to struggle reaching that goal and to fit in and get accepted. The idea is also to gather slowly, not force anything on anyone. That's why I multiple time answer to people also on social media that you don't have to force yourself to be our fan. Just let it happen on its own, and just enjoy the content, the esport that we create. There's no need to pressure yourself into choosing a side. And I think that dualism ideology is very present in Poland. When you have, for example, Frenzy and Gamers X, right?
Yeah. I was about to ask you, because you just mentioned that in Balkans there was Fortuna that monopolized the market. But it is kind of the same way when it comes to Poland. You had Ultraliga for a long time that was organized by Frenzy. Then they lost in whatever you call it.
The legal tender for the license.
Yeah, the tender. And now it will be Rift Legends for who knows how long.
But even when the license expires and there's a new tender for the license, there's companies showing up and
Competing,
yeah.
Okay.
In Serbia, in Balkan, there's no one. And Balkan is a mix of multiple countries, which is very weird in a way, right? Because in a way, I don't know geographically if it's bigger than like the Baltic, Lithuanian, Polish side, but
Don't
if you
quote
think,
me on geographic
if you
things,
think about it, like Serbia, Macedonia, I don't know, Albania, Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, and I think we also kind of input Romanian, Bulgarian players in there, and Hungarian. So there's a lot of countries, and you have one company for over, I don't know, it's gonna be 10 years soon. So one of the biggest concerns I faced when moving to Poland was a lot of Serbian and like Balkan people in a way begging to move to Poland with me as a water boy, as a player, as a manager, scout. They just want out. And there's no, imagine living in a region where things are not functioning and there is no second option.
That makes me wonder. You're talking about move to Poland, right? With the org. But then at the same time, you have a lot of infrastructure in form of your gaming house, gym, a lot of property that you own in Belgrade. So how does it work? And what are you planning to do with it? Are you already thinking about that?
Yeah, I faced multiple, let's say, advices from people I care about and also people that I just met along the way, right? That told me, oh, you should not have then invested so much in Serbia. You should not have. And then there's always this starting point where I say, I couldn't choose where I'm going to be born. I am proud Serbian. I'm not going to deny that. And my roots go from Serbia, but the current state in the country and also generally not politics, but esports is very grave looking there. And that doesn't mean that what I created there cannot be expanded in Poland. I can leave that there.
And to be frank, you
utilize it and also expand in Poland.
Yeah, and if I understand correctly, you've started investing in Belgrade before you actually made the decision to make a move to Poland, right?
Yeah.
So you can't go back in time.
Yes, the initial, like 2016, I think I was 19. I grew up on thinking about real estate, investing into houses, renting. So the initial idea was just to create a small motel. I always dreamed of, I grew up on Alone Kid. What's the name of the movie? Home Alone.
Home Alone. Yeah.
So there's a one of the movies is in a hotel where he's alone, and that kind of inspired this urge for me. Like, I just want to have a big space, open space building, and I can do what I want there. Obviously, not everything, but respectfully. And that's where the idea of building real estate. And once you get to a point where you have multiple real estate, like houses, or you kind of ask yourself, okay, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to rent this? If I just rent it to an ordinary family or a person, it's going to be this priceage. If it's going to be for esports or for, I don't know, IT, it's going to be much more. So then I kind of diverted my interests to go, as I in 2018 made Z10. I thought, if I want to bring a team in and make something bigger, I have to rent. Why not do it in my own real estate, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I was also thinking about, you moving with organization to Poland in many terms, but you also have a lot of experience in just managing organization in Balkans. So what are the differences and what are the big challenges of managing organization now in Poland that were not present or that didn't, happen during your time in Balkans? Is there anything new or is it all the same wherever you go?
I think the difference is huge. The casual viewer of this podcast is not gonna even understand or comprehend. But in Serbia, there's no laws about esports. There's no financial laws. There's no structural laws. I cannot have people coming to Serbia on a work visa because it's not considered when it comes to players and coaches.
So they can't obtain work visa.
They can't obtain work visa.
They don't recognize esports as...
It's an amateur sport, and they recognize it as an amateur sport because there's some political things happening right now. They want to position themselves for like a big expo event, get government funding for it. But that's a whole nother topic. We're not going to go there. Basically, best example is when we traded Noah to Fnatic, there was no legal way for us to trade him because under EU government law, EU laws, you cannot sell a contract, and that's the only option we had in Serbia because we are very back in time, which goes under slavery, right?
Okay, can you elaborate a little bit more on how it actually went? What did you do? Did you find out a good solution for you to make some money, or because of the regulations or lack of them?
I wouldn't talk too much about it. I would just speedrun through it.
Yeah, sure.
I had an idea of bringing Koreans to the Polish scene, as in an LCK spot is 1 million to 12 million euros back in the days. And why would I go to LCK when I can bring LCK home, right? If I can say Poland is my second home. I went and scouted legit on the ranked leaderboard players that are not binded by a team.
Oh, did you do it yourself?
Yeah.
So you were behind the decision?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
We reached out then to agencies that Noah was not represented by any agent. There was a lot of backlash on that he was toxic. He was traumatized by previous experiences with KT Rolster coaches being very mean. They're like, Koreans are very, very strict. It's a
cultural thing.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a very cultural thing. I think that behavior would not be accepted in EU for sure. It would fall under, I don't know, some form of misdemeanor, like aggressiveness towards an employee or whatever. And he had a lot of that clogged in his emotions and experience. He wanted to retire. That's why he got...
Before you contacted him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we reached out. We asked him to come to us. He seemed very indifferent about it. He was like, yeah, sure, but I'm one foot already out. And then we asked an agency, Azit, which is representing him now, to actually lock him in under a contract. And then I have some backbone that he's not gonna just leave tomorrow, Then we got a contract, we tried him out, we got him here. He had no social media channels, we created everything. One of the things that we do, and most of the investments we do in Z10, is we try to create a brand for the player or the coach, so that when they leave Z10, they have something left behind them, rather than they just spend their time in a team on a bench or playing, and then they leave to another team. So we're actually investing on our own. So we're paying off, topic we're going to go through, social media people, back office, graphic designers, video editors, to get them overlays, to fix their schedules. We also went a step further and we got sport psychologists working with him, and we also got English teachers, because he couldn't say my name is Noah. So from that point, we got him to a point where he is communicating fluently Baron fights, Dragon fights, and I can't remember the full name. We called her Kim. Maybe if needed, we can link her. But she really works with some of the best Korean athletes, esports athletes, when it comes to English Korean teaching, and she mostly uses in-game phrases to teach them. It's not like going through basics of English. It's more...
she's an actual English teacher,
for the
League
game,
of Legends, for esports.
For PUBG, for Valorant.
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, it's very fun in a way. Because when I go into his lesson, it's not IMUR grammar, or I don't know what English lessons you would go through, but it's how do you want to say that you want to go for Baron or Ward or check out the zone or recall, get the wave in the least possible, giving the least possible words and giving the most information, right?
Yeah. So
and she's really good.
Quickest.
She works with most of the LEC teams, players, sense. Koreans, yeah. And
so for me, all of that sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah.
This is also another topic that I wanted to mention. How much each month does managing an organization like Z2 cost you? And what are your plans moving forward? Because I know that you want to make some kind of change in that department.
So just to finish the previous topic,
sure, yeah.
One thing led to another. He was doing streams on his own. That's like very passionate from him.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted the spotlight, even in the team, in scrims and everything. He wanted the spotlight. That's when the offers came to us. You know, it's much better when the offers come to you than when you're chasing. And
because you're in better position for negotiations.
And we were in talks with multiple LEC teams and multiple like EU and LCS NA teams, and we kind of oversold them, which is great for him, because in the trade-off period, we never put ourselves as we want to earn on this guy. The project itself was, let's bring LCK to EU. It wasn't, I'm going to trade this player. And we made sure that he's well put for his time in Fnatic, now Giant X.
Mm-hmm.
And we always keep on the communication with future agencies as well, on giving good reviews, objective good reviews on players. And that's also a big virtue that we have at Z10 for kind of representing the players with no interest in that as well. Obviously, there was interest in the Fnatic deal, but later with Giant X and yada, yada, yada. So back to the topic. Z10 started off with, I think, 5 to 6K salaries for the league team. Then we transitioned into CS. Our CS team is 3.5 years on a stack together. This is the first transfer we did with the Madden.
Mm-hmm.
And he was previously in Falcons. We made the change because things weren't working out. Kind of burnt out energy between players. The cohesion, the chemistry needs to change from time to time.
Yeah, I can see that there are a lot of moving pieces. I was thinking more of a, rough estimate about all of the operations.
Yeah. So from 5 to 6K, now we are probably around, let's see, the previous month, around 120,000.
Mm-hmm. We were talking Polish zloty or
We're
euros?
talking 120,000 euros.
Okay, and that for all of the organization or CS alone?
That's for the whole organization.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm just giving a point. We started off with League, transitioned into CS for a couple of years. Now, with the EWC, we tried going into 12 different.
Yeah, for the
we branched out.
Club, championship, whatever it's called.
It's very confusing because even they themselves explain it in a way that you need to invest yourself to understand it. So last year, if I can talk about EVC, I don't know, yeah.
It's on the list of our topics.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to go into so great details, because I'm still looking at the time, I don't want to make it super long because it will be a digestible content piece. So let's just stick to the topic of expenses.
Okay.
Let's cover that. Then we'll move to the next one that you've already mentioned. You know what is coming, and then we'll probably finish up with the rest of the topics.
We when it comes to expenses, most of the expenses are not eSport related. The most expenses are flights, housing expenses, food, things we put in the contract that are very overseen and considered as normal, considered as just a perk.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about also in the gaming house, we have a lot of people working there, from the basic hygiene stuff, the chef, the later on house managers, drivers, yada yada. You have, I'm not sure how much in detail you want to go into this.
I think that's enough.
That's enough, yeah?
Yeah.
When it comes to eSport in general, our most expensive right now is probably CS and League.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned it on social media that we are going to downsize from July, and we already started with it.
Okay, so you're inside of the process of downsizing.
We reached out to a lot of people already. We had 80 people employed in a B2B model. Some were full-time, like employed, but most of it is B2B model, which is a big pain in the head.
I can see that because of, like, I was actually thinking, are you employing those people under European law, Serbian law, Polish law, or their regional law if they're from outside of those areas?
Every contract and every negotiation is individual. It depends on if the person is being represented by an agent, so they usually force stuff to be more so that they are protected. Obviously, our lawyers and our legal team works that we are protected. When you look at it from my experience, I can openly say that in general, it's all just talk. It's not really like we're going to get there, but in general, the contracts are more of a gentleman's agreement rather than people respecting them. It's very rare that someone is going to sue you over 100 euros, or it's very rare that I'm going to sue someone for 3,000 euros in damages.
Yeah, obviously, the costs of the court proceedings are going to be greater than 100 or whatever.
And it's just not worth it. Obviously, if Serbia was in a more, let's say, regulated state, we could pursue that direction and we could earn a lot of money, but that would take us probably a couple of years.
Okay, so it is not happening. I mean, you've mentioned the topic before, and right now a lot of the talk surrounding Z10 is definitely financial stuff, but also something that recently your ex-social media employee brought up online. Obviously, I'm referring to Whisker, who stated that he has not been paid for his last invoice for over 60 days. So I wanted to pick your brain about it. I've also talked with Whisker, so I'm going to ask you several questions. But basically, why has he not received the payments? Is he going to receive it? And what is the story behind, your cooperation, and why has this become a problem?
Yeah. There's a lot of questions. I'm going to start off from the basics. The basics are that most of the employee contracts I make with people are from the yes/no question. Can your employee be a friend? And they are based on a more let's make it work approach rather than a strict professional approach. The whole idea from the start when we hired Whisker was we needed to fill a hole. We had a hole on social media. We needed someone to do it. We had a person before him do it, and she wasn't cutting out the job, didn't have the time. It really affected us in a way where our social numbers are just stagnating. And also on the other note, we weren't even posting wins or loses, which are the basic. When we approached Whisker, we kind of had to determine what are his obligations, contractual wise, and also for what is he going to get paid, right? And that's one of the problems as well when you're coming from Serbia is that you don't have drafts for these things. Most of these things are made up. You have to sit down with your lawyer, spend hours and hours figuring out how do you phrase this? How do you phrase this so that you're protected? How do you phrase this so that he's not offended?
Okay, so did you go through that process with Whisker?
We went through that process with every one of our contracts. There's no. I think I even reached out to several Polish, Italian orgs to give me like a player draft so I can update my contract.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or I would get agencies tell me that something is not viable in the contract, and then I'd have to change it. So it's a process where you're constantly digging, upgrading your contracts, upgrading your approach to. But that's what I mean. Like, there's no ground basis, there's no regulation, and you have to kind of make it on your own. So that process.
So in what form did you make it? Because now I want to ask you this question. We're obviously talking about contracts, so it usually goes like that. Here are all of the obligations, you sign it, and then we have a written form of contract. I've talked with Whisker, he told me that he never signed anything. So how does it look from your perspective? Is he telling the truth? What happened there? Is it just a miscommunication?
So In esports in general, not just his job, you have a lot of positions where you get to through the verbal agreements. These are the terms which you agree on, which I agree on. It's settled. Once that happens, everyone loses interest to pursue that further on. It's very, very rare for people to actually commit to, hey, let's finalize this. Where's the contract? I want to sign it. I want to feel comfortable with it, right? Even if you give them the contract, they're not in a rush to sign it, because by signing it, they also oblige themselves to a certain set of rules, right? Otherwise, it is as said, just a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah,
because there's no legal form that forces me or obliges me that I need to pay him for his work, right?
That's why I asked you, under what law did you discuss those conditions? I'm not a lawyer myself, but I went online
all our contracts are Serbian, under Serbian regulation, and will be under court in Belgrade, main capital of Serbia.
So what I found is that usually when you have a contract of mandate or you have B2B, you usually state in the contract that the payment will be transferred upon 14 days until after the completion of work. And if that is not stated, the general rule in Poland is that after the service is done, you are meant to pay someone. So let me circle around that back, because Whisker told me until it was working like a gentleman's agreement, it was working. He had trust for Z10 for you because all of the invoices were paid. He mentioned that there were sometimes delays. There were delays, but usually he got the money. So the reason why he went online is he doesn't have a written agreement. You are also not answering his messages, because I showed you the screen, and in your Discord conversation, he went for updates several times, and you didn't mention, you didn't answer that. So I feel, if I look at the situation, he might have felt powerless. He's not getting the answer. You are not getting back to him. He doesn't have contract that he can, use as a legal document to get his money. So he felt like that might be the last straw, the last option for him to maybe get the money, to draw the attention. So why there was no formal agreement between the two of you?
Yeah, so to get to that point, when you're running for the viewers, when you're running an organization with 80 employees, 100 employees, doesn't matter, a system that's more than 10 people, it's hard for you to manage all of those things. I know companies that work with, like a big legal team, a big board of directors and decision makers, like a financial team that's running the budgets and everything. In Z10, it's all on me. There's no board of directors. The legal team is my close friend, my we say it kum, which means like a godfather or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And Sava, who is a one-man band. He, for EWC, for example, he had to finalize 40 contracts in, 5 days, which is from scratch, make them up, then evaluate them, then go into talks, reassess, and sign them. So you have to have people under you who are going to manage these kind of situations and problems. In Z10's case, it was Hatchy's directive to manage the efficiency of people and also the communication between. You just need people who are going to be a filter in a way that they don't influence you directly. They don't go directly to the top, because otherwise I would have to be micromanaging 80 people plus also on the side manage everything else, and it's not doable. That's why I hired certain people to manage those, be those, let's say, filters. And obviously the miscommunication between them happened. And what I would like to say is there's a really good phrase from, I don't know what movie, but it's, we don't need bosses in the space. We need gaffers. Do you know what a gaffer is?
Unfortunately not.
Gaffer is like a guy that gets things done.
Oh, okay.
No?
So go-getters.
Yeah, so you don't need people that are acting as bosses or have this approach, this energy of, hey, I'm the boss, respect me, behave in a certain way in my, like when you're in the room with me and stuff like that. We need people who will get down and dirty and finish the things. So
okay, so if you need those kind of people,
yeah,
from my understanding,
yeah,
you had the agreement with Whisker to pay his invoices for March and for the half of April, right?
yes.
So is this going to happen? And
March was paid.
Yeah, I know. March is happening. Yeah, but he's referring to those 900 euros for April.
Yeah,
right?
the April salary. So after the outing on social media, I myself made a decision not to pay him, and I will strictly stay by that.
Okay.
Because that's a way of showing borders to people. For April, no matter what type of work he did, under the gentleman's agreement, he didn't fulfill his duties. He made a lot of expenses internally for us with the Twitter ads, for example. And I overlooked those things, as I'm not going to close any door with anyone, burn any bridges. I'm just going to, usually my approach with people that are problematic is, I'm just going to pay you so that you don't talk shit, if I can say that on podcast. And I'm going to move on because I'm the one making the money. I'm just going to pay you. I'm just going to fix this problem that way. But as you can see, that kind of bites you back because in the long term of my stay in esports, a lot of people are very ungrateful for the treatment they got. And I think that's totally reasonable from their perspective, right? Everyone has their own vision on reality.
Yeah.
And I don't want to crush their reality or like influence it. But when it comes to a job, I'm not going to pay someone for existing, for being there, for, like I'm going to, okay, you want to take this serious? You want to say you didn't pay me for 60 days? Okay, what am I paying you for? And then...
And that I think is difficult because from my understanding, it's not like you set any KPIs. It's not like you gave them, you've got to post this many times, cover this and that. It was the gentleman's agreement. And from my understanding is your vision might be a little bit different from his, but...
Well, that's a misinterpretation of the situation because he got a set of things that his obligations are. And those are very strict obligations. Make a marketing strategy, how we're going to grow our social medias, run our advertisement campaigns, and run our advertising budgets, whatnot. Post stuff regularly, right? So it's not like you make a calendar and you run things through with the back office, right? And he was very skilled about it in one term, in term of I can schedule things and they're gonna post themselves, right? And also copywriting. Copywriting was also part of his contract. So writing the text that they're more appealing to the audience, right?
With the human touch.
Yeah. Most at the start of his copywriting came from I would say ChatGPT. It's like AI generated. You wouldn't approach...
Did you discuss that with him or is it your suspicion?
We discussed that. We said we need something more that's gonna make people feel engaged with, rather than imagine going for a Rift Legends finals and being... Let's go, gamers, level up your skill with today's match, come and watch us, whatever. ChatGPT make me a game announce, zero tenacity.
Vanilla social media.
Yeah. And so those things are also a process that I overlooked, and he grew from that. Obviously, he got to a point, but then we got to a point where he couldn't manage his... scheduled time, so he asked us to hire new people. We hired new people. We got to a point where those people were doing the postings, those people were doing the copyrights, those people were handling. We sat down in April, and I really even tried to find him a position. And I explained to him, you're not doing the social medias anymore. Your underlings are doing it. You're not doing the copyright. They are doing it. You're not doing the advertisement campaigns. They are doing it. You're not doing the, what did we have? Like a marketing strategy or like a social media brand growth strategy. They are doing it. So by the terms we agreed on gentlemanly, let's say, because he didn't sign it, but he definitely got it in written form, what his obligations are. He didn't do those things. And I told him, I think, because when I asked him openly, like, tell me, what are you actually doing in Z10? He said mainly he's being the glue between the back office and the social media. He's checking, double checking stuff that is of good quality, social, like graphics, videos, subtitles, whatnot, that everyone else does. And then I told him, okay, so you're like a head of creative. You're like a creative director role. Mm-hmm. We need that, right?
Yeah.
And why don't you move to the creative role for the same salary, for same everything? And let's find someone who's actually going to be doing social media, because our numbers are stagnating for like, I don't know, 8-9 months. Mm-hmm. How much?
But he didn't accept that position.
No,
right?
He said he already found another job, and he's going to be working. He started from esports, and he's going to be working in event photo shooting, managing. Yeah.
So you also mentioned that he already had found another job by that point. He explained to me that, well, he obviously didn't want to quit and don't have any other alternatives, because he has to pay for his taxes, food, stuff like that. He has his obligations. And he told me that because of the delays in the payments, it caused a lot of difficulties, because you have to put the invoice, and then there's like some form of a tax,
until 20th in the month you need to pay taxes. Yeah.
So, well,
in Poland,
is this happening to other employees as well? And why are those payments getting late? And can they expect it to change in the future?
Yes, I think that the ending is definitely a very big point that I'm heading into from July. The overall idea of why the delays are happening is cash flow problem. On the side of esports and paying 120K a month, I'm also building a very big complex with a lot of complex things. I'm not gonna leak stuff. There's gonna be a cinema inside, a gym, a sauna, a big pool, and it's gonna host for like 30 people. Yeah, which is mixed with the screen rooms, with the kitchen, with the chefs, with everything.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, but I'm still looking from the perspective of your employees, you know? Yeah. When you have a boss that is investing a lot of money, but at the same time, they are not getting the money that for them might be life-changing, might be, I'm gonna get evicted from the apartment, or I might have to go to a bank and actually apply for a loan because I have some obligations. Like, that definitely does not make them feel secure and like,
for sure,
you know, stable,
but
doesn't bring the
but
stability.
it's also a very big point in esports that in general is a high like topic a lot of people talk about, is that doesn't concern me as an employer. If you made choices that you have life expenses that are in a way that you cannot pay them from your own, like tomorrow if the company goes bankrupt and you're not paid for your work, that's on you, you know? It feels very...
No, I don't understand that. What do you mean by that?
So imagine this. A lot of people approach me and tell me how they have life expenses.
Yeah.
That they're struggling in life, you know? And that should not concern me as an employer. That's the private side of you as an employee.
Yeah, true. But they are, you know, engaging with you in business so they can pay for those expenses. And what concerns you as an employer is paying on time, right?
No, they engage with me in a B2B model where they offer me service and I pay for that service.
Yeah.
If stated in the contract is that it should be paid by this and this date, or if you say under Polish regulations, it has to be paid, I don't know what you said.
I don't know, let's say within 14 days of completion.
Then it's done that way. But if it's not done that way, it's done a different way. And I'm going to explain the way. I really had a bad wording there. So if you want to be very strict on when you're going to get paid, then I'm going to be very strict on did you do your work, right? if I'm letting you swim around in Z10 for 1K, 2K salary.
Yeah, I understand that the trust goes both ways.
Yes, correct.
So if you have employees that actually deliver stuff on time, do you pay them on time? And
obviously,
with
yes.
people that
We have very serious contracts with people that are high profile and that I myself respect very dearly, and we have exactly which date in the month. Even sometimes there's communications where they ask me to get paid in advance. That's totally normal. Obviously, it's not my obligation, it's my choice to do that. But in those work environments where people are actually, that's why I said people that actually did work are going to get paid. You who just swam around and existed, sure, you're going to get paid as well, because I don't want to burn bridges, but you have to wait. And that's the point where I kind of took it upon myself and realized that even if I paid him tomorrow, he's going to potentially talk bad about Z10 or bad about me. Doesn't matter.
maybe he doesn't go on Twitter, but he might do
behind closed doors, yeah. And it happens a lot of times.
Yeah.
People just want to get paid. Once they get paid, they lose any emotional traction to you as an employer, or like giving a damn about what's the status between you two. So it's just like I would compare it in a very misogynistic way. A girl and a guy, once they get their thing, they're done with you, right?
They lose all interest.
Yeah,
At
they're
least
done for
some time.
they're done for that, let's say, meeting or whatever, and they move on.
Okay. Well, I mean, the approach that you have, you're the owner, obviously, so you're gonna conduct the business the way that you want it. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell if, from like legal perspective, what is going on between you and Whisker. But I think looking at this whole thing, a lot of people will be a little bit outraged about how you approach it.
Yeah.
So I'm just, like letting you know. But I think now at least we understand a little bit better how you approach business and what people can expect if they want to work for Z10 in the future, for example.
True.
And probably those people, because there is like a rumor going around that some other people are also not getting paid on time. Is that true? Can you confirm it?
Yeah, so we had, I think it was covered in the video of the announcement of this, but...
Maybe if there's like a follow-up for that.
Yeah, the follow-up would be in Serbia under like Serbian laws and regulations, and that's something that obviously if you're new to Z10, you're not going to experience, but if you've been here for over a year or two, you can attest to that every end of first quarter of the year, which is January, February, March, every start of April.
Yeah.
You have annual tax reports, you have government spending statistics reports, you have a lot of stuff that unfortunately I wasn't present in Serbia to do at the time. And because I was in the States, in New Orleans for the Apex tourney. And that led to the company accounts being blocked. I had to return. It's a whole bureaucracy, how you call it? Let's say
scheme.
Whole bureaucracy pattern of things you need to do in order to get it unblocked. Go to this.
Oh, so it's a long process.
Yeah, long process. Go to this government body, get these things, get these papers, sign these, pay the blockage, unblocking taxes.
So I reckon you communicate that with your employee.
One of the things that was really great that Hatchy did is those weekly meetings where he would evaluate people, what they're doing and what and how they should do. And also he would give feedback on, obviously he was managing most of these issues privately with people, but he would give feedback when there's big announcements. Hey, we're doing this, we're doing that, this happened, that happened. And it was communicated on time and regularly every week if there's an update on are the accounts unblocked, are the accounts blocked. So one of the things that this whole scenario with Whisker falls under is the problem we got issued with the governments in Serbia, is that even if we wanted to pay him, we couldn't pay him because our accounts were frozen. So we have the funds, we had 77 or I think 76 outgoing payments that were frozen and waiting for the account to get unfrozen, and then they were sent out. After the unfreezing, which happened, I don't know, month ago or 20 days ago, whatever. The bank, I mean, I don't know if you want to go into details for this, but basically
I think there's just one more side to this that I wanted to add. Because obviously in business, there are payments that get delayed. But one of the issues that was also brought up by Whisker is that on many occasions, at least from their perspective, you had other projects going on, for example, Z10 TV. And while employees are waiting for their invoices to be paid, they can also see some members of Z10 TV, for example, getting gifts in form of iPhones at the same day of when their invoice should be arriving. So they are questioning, what is the priority of your funds going around the organization? So can you
elaborate?
I understand it's like a little bit, it's an example, it's a concrete one, but
I did some really crazy stuff in Z10. I can give you the craziest thing.
Yeah. Sure, go for that.
Our previous content creator, Stole, he basically retired from streaming and doing content. We had a challenge internally in Z10. Whoever tattoos Z10 first gets 5,000 euros. And he did it. And he got the 5K.
Where did he get the tattoo?
He got it like under the cuff here.
Okay.
But it's very visible.
It is visible.
It's above the, let's say, socks, so you can't hide it.
Okay.
So that's just an example of a lot of things in my approaches where I have this, I don't know, weird approach to handling things. When it comes to the iPhones scenario, for example, we have a lot of content creators from Z10 TV that don't have the means to film content. They had old, I don't know which brand phones that couldn't shoot stuff, and we were in America for I don't know which event, San Diego TwitchCon or whatever, and I think iPhone 16 just dropped. We went on doing a whole experience of camping outside of the iPhone store and getting them. And
you're sniping the iPhones.
Yeah, but then again, this is the thing where obviously people see it in a way they see it, but those iPhones were taken off from their salaries on, let's say, 5 to 6 month deal. It's a private matter between me and my employees on how I'm going to handle things. For example,
I understand that, but you can also see how it may
how they perceive it. That's why I say
right?
We all have our own realities, and that's why I think communication is key. I think spamming someone on Discord, when am I going to get paid, is definitely not communication.
So how do you expect him to contact you? Because he also sent you emails.
Yeah, that's just legal ways of him positioning himself so that he has a back to say I contacted him and I was ignored. Setting up a meeting, talking it through, explaining stuff,
so how do you usually set up meetings? Let's just walk me through the process. Do you get message on Discord asking to set up a meeting?
People would reach out and they would say, hey, can we get a meeting? Let's talk about this subject, that subject. And obviously, even with the whole busy schedule, I make time. And just spamming, like if there's nothing changed in, let's say, 5 days, 10 days, whatever, and they're being updated on the weekly meeting briefs that nothing changed, I don't feel the need to answer to someone every day.
I don't remember the exact dates, but I think it was already after you guys have ceased to work together. So probably he was not. Yeah,
but I answered him multiple times that for now we still can't send out anything, and as soon as something changes, I will reach out to him. So I understand his perspective and everything, but this is also a problem in esports where people think you're just like what's it called? ATM or like a bank or whatever.
ATM machine.
They just click and the money drops out. There's a whole procedure of, that's what I mentioned with Liloch, for example, as well. You need to form a valid invoice. It needs to be accepted by the bank. Right now we have a lot of backlogged invoices that are stuck in the bank. Money is taken from our account and we're waiting for the intermediary banks to give us a confirmation SWIFT so that their banks, the receiving banks, can catch the money from the SWIFT, whatever, confirmations, and pull it to their accounts, because dated, they're sent in April, and the money got deducted from accounts now, like 20 days ago. So there's a lot of stuff, and I always prefer much more modern ways of payment, such as crypto, right?
Okay, sure. But
just giving an example.
But some people don't accept
Obviously,
that.
that's why we still stick to the invoice and banking route.
Yeah, and you have to obviously discuss that before you start the cooperation, right?
Yeah. I always ask people, are you into crypto? And they're like, no. And then like, oh, okay, no, never mind. I never force anything onto anyone.
That's good to hear. So I want to put an end to this topic because we could be, talking over and over and over. But in one of the answers to the questions that Kala sent you, you've said that one of your biggest regrets is living other people's dreams and not my own. I got to a point where Z10 was being controlled, held by others more than by me. And recently you have also split ways with Hatchy. So I was wondering if there is a link, a connection between that quote and also the department of Hatchy.
It's not linked to anyone directly. It's linked to multiple people. It's linked to the whole, let's say, behavior pattern of esports. People feel very entitled that they know better than you. That they know better than you and that you need them. So once you get through that process, once you accept them as what they are and you need them, you accept the reality that you need them, then they feel entitled that they know stuff and they are going to run things as they want. Rather than, let's say you have a functional, I always compare things to the more culinary. I was also co-owner in a restaurant chain in Serbia. I sold it like 2 years ago, but Pomodoro, it was on our jersey.
Yeah, I remember.
So you have a system of cooks, you have a system of chefs, and also cleaners, people bringing out plates, everything. When you are a new person joining the kitchen, you have to adapt to everyone else. It's not your kitchen. You have to adapt to the vision of the whole kitchen, of all the chefs, of the whole system that's been running there for years, let's say. I think definitely migrating to Poland, I started losing the identity of Z10, where it started more appealing because I wanted to get more acquainted and accepted here. So I let other people's visions and
so you
ideas.
Went for a lot of compromises.
Yeah, I also didn't. Like, for example, I was in, it might cause drama, but I don't care. I was in, what's it called?
Give me more of that.
It's called UCK.
Yeah.
So
UCK.
I went for...
They cover, for example, for our viewers, the LCK broadcast of
yeah, they're doing amazing work there. They're also working, outsourcing themselves sometimes to GamersX as well, for Reef Legends, for
true.
Even Ultra Liga before, I think.
Even during last Meet at Rift, I was hosting League of Legends booth.
Yeah.
And that was done by
TFT
UCK.
and stuff like that, everything.
Yeah.
Riot affiliated. I think they're doing mainly things for Riot in Poland.
Yeah, a lot of content for Riot.
So when we first came to Poland, we went through multiple marketing media agencies and asked for help to help us grow our brand here, help us position ourselves, help us find fundraising like sponsors. Let's say the three off the top of my head were GG League, CFA, and UCK. I think we visited all of them in the same day as well. We picked off CFA at start. It didn't end up well. Because I think they didn't prioritize us. So that was the main issue. I think they are very capable and very rational people. Then we first off went to UCK, and that definitely didn't click off from the start. We had, what's his name? The guy on T, Truffle?
Truffle, yeah.
Yeah. So we had
Truffle. He used to be a PM on Ultra Liga.
Yeah. So Truffle and Fake One were there.
Yeah.
And we talked about the general idea of what I'm bringing to the table and how can they monetize that, create a brand out of it, work with it.
Okay, so what was your main goal when you approached all of those
Help me
agencies?
position in the Polish market, help me get more acquainted with the
so
Polish
they
community.
like you needed them to prepare a brand strategy.
Strategy, identity, also to try to get funds, like fundraising, right?
Okay.
So sponsors. Usually all of those marketing agencies work with a certain package of sponsors, deals, and how it works.
You get into the network of those people.
And from like that's why I say drama. We didn't click off respectfully because they had an approach that we should totally rebrand, totally change the name Zero Tenacity, totally go in a whole golden five vibe, yeah, and create this ultra nationalistic Polish pride project that they will be running. And then I realized, okay, but that's definitely
you're giving the ownership of your own brand to somebody else.
I am just gonna be an investor there, and I'm completely shutting myself off from having any input, and that's why I really got scared at the moment. And I was like, I'm giving something away, something I've built for like 4 or 5 years. And I walked away from that meeting respectfully. There was no, like, this is the first time I'm mentioning it publicly as well. But that's the type of response and ideology people have here when they feel very entitled that they can run and do your things better than you.
If you want to hear my perspective on that, I completely understand your approach because you want to remain with your own brand. You want to have the ownership. But at the same time, I completely understand why they proposed
as well
what they did, because in their minds, that was the best case scenario to work out for the brand. People, you understand it. You see how it works with FMS and Ripson. They love them because they are their people.
Yeah,
they are, streamers. They feel relatable a lot, and in some ways Z10 and a lot of organizations like Z10 in the past, Devil's One, Agrogue, they were those big clients, those big players that have, rich infrastructure, a lot of money, and for some reason people just didn't accept them.
There was no. That's the thing. Like, there is a big org on the market right now, Nemesis. They entered some of the biggest like EWC titles, Halo, Apex, I don't know, Dota, CS, a lot of things, and they are crushing it. They're crushing their socials. I think Kuba, who is a Polish social media manager, whatever, is like co-owner and also doing all their socials. And he's Polish and he's doing amazing work. And I also tweeted it out and how envious I am of their org because they're not British, they're not Polish, they're just making a global brand, and it's so successful because the people doing their work are so passionate about what they're doing. And one of the questions was, the current esports scene is filled with a lot of fake people. A lot of people who, in a sense, feel the need to be there, be present, be part of a project, but don't know what they would be contributing, what they would be doing exactly. They just want to be there. And they want to get paid for being there. Obviously. So when you ask them, that I usually do this with all my employees, I ask them down the line after a month or 2 or 3, what are you actually doing in Z10? In a way to challenge them, to tell me what they're doing. And they would tell me a lot of things that's irrelevant to their position. So, like taking pictures at the booths, taking pictures at events for Whisker, for example, traveling, yada yada. That was all never talked about in the contract, and it took a lot of his energy and time, which I fully understand. But it also took money from us to.
But wouldn't you treat that as some form of an initiative that they are taking?
Yeah, but then you have to kind of separate what are you paying someone for, and what they're doing because they love it, right?
It sounds really hard to pull off because I can see that you have certain vision, but also your own. How would you put it? Your own, not obligations, but not recommendations. Let me circle back. You have your own vision, but then at the same time, if you want to execute that, you need like lists of KPIs.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And you probably need that big document that states everything. So then you can go, put your pen up and check mark here, check mark there. Okay, that was delivered.
But there's a lot of people in this field that are actually like that. You give them a paper, you give them a set of rules, a set of obligations, and they stick by it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go doing photographs on the side. They don't go, like, I don't know, filming or going at events. They're not going to go to Rift Legends finals. They're going to stay at home and work because they realize that's work. That's what they're getting paid for.
Okay.
So there's the difference between professionalism and people who take it as a hobby,
Yeah.
and are getting paid for it.
I see that we spent a lot of time on that topic. It was important. It definitely is something that the community is interested in.
Yeah.
But also another discussion, hopefully now not about Z10 and everything that surrounds it, because I understand how it might be difficult to talk about, even though I do respect for your honesty. Thank you for laying it out for everyone out there. So there's big discussion between Rift Legends right now and Ultraliga. I wanted to ask you, because you obviously have perspective from both sides. You've been a part of Ultraliga. You have also now joined Rift Legends. So what is the difference between these two? What do you find, better in Rift Legends? How would you overall look at it and give it, what would be your mark on that?
When I joined Ultraliga, I felt amazed by the production, by the studio, by a lot of things. The professionalism from commentators, the professionalism from, I don't know, the people behind the stage and how it works. But then later, as time passed and they were nearing the end of their tender license, however you call it, things started spiraling down. The communication went down. I don't blame anyone. I think they are the best thing. Their approach is the best thing to esports, the corporate approach. Hey, we don't have the money for this. We're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, let's make it happen. How do we do this? And that was my energy that I brought to Ultraliga. Ultraliga wouldn't have had finals, LAN finals, if it wasn't me forcing them on meetings to think about it, right? We even opened discussions like, hey, I think Dragar was also very influential there as well. I think the two of us were probably the only ones also willing to make a donation or like financially support the franchise to make it happen.
So you would put in the money,
yes,
to make this happen.
So
did that happen? Can you actually give us
from the energy that we brought, we opened a big door, which was Ultraliga signing Kia or Samsung, I don't remember, which granted them.
They signed them both.
Yeah, they granted them the funds to make the LANs happen. So the donations, let's call them, weren't necessary. That's what they said. Even though I think a year later they sent me an invoice of 5,000 euros. Like, hey, this is for the booth you had at the LAN finals. And I was like, we never discussed paying a LAN booth. What?
Oh, didn't you? So they just sent it?
They just sent it. And it kind of...
You've never discussed that?
No. It was discussed that we can donate to make it happen, but not pay for a booth. So they wanted to phrase it like, we can't take donations, but we can rent you a booth space for 5K. But when they communicated with us that it's not necessary, it's not needed because they've got the funds, we backed off for it. We're not going to give away money to a corporate company, who also, if we want to talk about money, still didn't pay us out for the last prize pools that were in Ultraliga. So,
and do you have any information about that? Is that coming? Is that delayed? Is that money that they?
That's one of the reasons I'm in Poland this week. I'm visiting our lawyers in Poznan, and we're gonna talk about
settling the score.
Settling, but in a friendly manner. Like, they were very chill about it. Like, oh, you guys, we know, but you kind of need to chase us for it, right? I can't chase them from Serbia. They require some documentations that's impossible to get. In Serbia, Z10 is a non-profitable organization. And non-profitable organizations cannot get the Ministry of Finance approved papers that they need in order to pay us. All of a sudden, we need some voodoo papers by Polish law, I asked my lawyers, it's not needed, but that's their regulation, internal, I guess. And that's what's blocking them from paying us. So we're going to push for it to happen through the Polish company now.
Okay.
And
do you feel like they are making it difficult, or do you believe that?
I don't think so. At least not for us. I don't think they're making it difficult. I think we, as Z10, had a lot of problems making it happen from Serbia. So now, even from Poland, there were a lot of delays in opening bank accounts. Alir Bank, for example, didn't want to open a bank account for us without any reason.
So you don't personally feel wronged by Ultraliga for not paying you this money? Yes.
Honestly, no, not yet.
Okay, not yet. So it might
happen. Who knows? Yeah. But when it comes to Rift Legends, I feel I actually feel the sense of belonging. Like, I'm part of this community. I'm part of this Polish esports League of Legends scene, and I have a feeling of communication where, you know, like, I know GamersX is behind it, but Nervarian, as a head of it, is reaching out, is communicating, is, you know, like, doing stuff behind the scenes that is to make it more accessible. They also listen to feedback from us a little bit, you know.
Did they change? What did they change based on the feedback that you gave them? Can you share
They
that
added
with
player
us?
cams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is true.
That is a big step, you know.
Okay. Some other stuff. Can you already, like, give us examples, or?
I think they refund plane tickets and hotels.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Did Ultraliga do that or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
So for Gdansk, which is in the middle of summer season, not middle, but middle, you have to pay flight tickets for, like, this is my reasoning. Do I go with the whole team, with the lawyers, the family, the friends, you know, people I want to bring, or do I just send my team, you know, and who's necessary? So I went with everyone. That's like, outside of the season, Gdansk flight tickets are 2 times cheaper. Hotel prices are 2 times cheaper. And they chose, in my opinion, a wrong venue at the wrong time. Gdansk was beautiful. It was an amazing experience, but I still think the logistics behind it was very awful. And in the end, none of it being refunded is also amazing, right?
Yeah, you have a lot of costs.
So
probably the price pool is not covering that.
There were talks about it. Let's just not show up, you know? And what will then happen? So the community needs to realize that...
That was a discussion recently in Rift Legends as well.
Yeah?
About Forsaken, you know, they didn't want to go to LAN and play outside of the main event.
Yeah.
So, Rift Legends is facing a lot of criticism lately. Do you think that it is justified? Because
Can you give me an example?
So people are, you know, feeling let down with the quality of the broadcasts, with how it is being managed. They are comparing it to the Ultraliga in its latter stage. So I wonder,
the main focus is like broadcasts and like the quality of broadcasts.
like the product itself, the league itself. There is no content on social media around the league. The Rift Legends finals, I mean the Mitat Rift were the Rift Legends finals plus 2-3 extra booths. So and that was the first edition of Mitat Rift that was actually being ticketed. So people, you know, feel a little bit disappointed in that.
Yeah.
What is your perspective on all of that? Because it's already been 6 months and people are getting annoyed with that.
My perspective is, as someone who knows behind the scenes what's happening, they don't want to, it's a new product, it's a new brand, they don't want to overinvest at start and then backtrack and think, oh, we kind of spent too much money on winter split, spring split, whatever, and what are we going to do for summer? It was always a goal that summer split is going to be the opening grand main event, and spring is the introduction to that, and I think winter before that, I don't remember.
So you will be able to make up your mind after the summer.
Yes, after summer, I think the community should judge them based on results. But it was,
so you were saying now it is too early to judge.
Yes, for sure. Especially because you need to understand that most of the community is dragging a lot of demons from Ultraliga days. And even if Rift Legend don't do them, they will feel like they're doing them. So I think a lot of stuff is unjustified. For example, I I wanted to talk about a certain thing that you mentioned that the community didn't like, but I don't remember what it was.
Lack of content.
Okay, something else.
Broadcasts that are just,
Something else, last thing.
Meta Rift being ticketed, right?
Oh, ticketed, yeah. So when we had Stodoła,
Yes, Stodoła.
People were very angry that it wasn't ticketed. And then they went from all around Poland and ended up not being able to enter.
Yeah, because of the capacity of the venue. But that's what happens if you don't ticket the venue, right?
So then when they get tickets, they're angry that they got ticketed and like people are trying to earn on them and yada yada, you know.
But I think that the bigger issue was that Meta Rift was supposed to be a festival of Riot Games.
Riot Games, yeah.
And a lot of people said it was Rift Legends finals plus something extra. And you have been to Łódź, for example, right? At Meta Rift. So you have the comparison between these two. Yeah. And you can clearly state that one of those was much more like a festival than the other, right?
Yeah, I think when we did the show match with Austrian Force, the first seed from Austria, Germany.
From the German league, yeah,
I guess.
The Prime League.
It was something of the same level as Rift Legends at Meet at Rift, like event. It's not hyped. It's not a separate event. It's not a separate thing, right? But again, that's again on the decision makers behind it. That's again on them. People don't care about budgeting. People don't care about how can you make it happen. People were very angry that there were no LANs. Now LANs are kind of standardized. It's a standard to have a LAN ending, and that's why I say like people even. I don't want to make anyone angry, but even the fans feel entitled that they're owed a LAN, they're owed, like a spectacle, and it's something you need to build towards. You can't just throw it out, especially as a new product, as a new brand. When it comes to production and like casters, and for me personally, I don't see that big of a difference in the league scene on who is a really good caster and who's not, because I'm probably...
You probably don't understand what we're saying, right?
that's a thing for sure. But other than that, I can feel the energy. For example, Sylvan, he brings this type of energy.
Oh yeah, do you miss him personally?
I do, for sure. But then whenever an event happens, the LAN, he's there, you know? So it's kind of...
He usually comes.
Yeah.
And he was a part of your... How will I call them? Of your supporting team during the Stodoła LAN.
He was part of our Z10. And
Z10, yes.
So I think it's very mixed. It's not really, there's no clear answer right now. I think people should wait until summer, judge after summer. I think Rift Legend definitely, outside of the community backlash, need to work on their brand and product much more.
Yeah,
I proposed to them, as well as Dragor proposed, that we should have. Why is LFL so successful as a brand? Why is it a contestant to LEC? Sometimes it used to be at some points more views and like a full venue with 20,000 people for the LFL, EBI, Koi matchup or whatever. Like when they had their own events. Why is it a problem for Riot for a franchise league that's worth 20+ million euros for a spot, that it's getting undermined compared to an LFL, which is 200,000 euros a spot? Because LFL and Webedia is working constantly on building their brand, making sure, like we tried to go into LFL this year. We got declined by JobLife. JobLife got in. Obviously, they had French influencers behind the... Imagine some French org trying to get into Rift Legends or Ultraliga before, and you have Ripson on the other end. Obviously, you're going to choose Ripson, right?
Yeah.
So I think Rift Legends and definitely needs to work on developing their brand more in a more NBA-style franchise. Like, where is the general shop of all the team merch? Where is the loyalty program? Where is the what's it called? The fantasy league? Where I saw there's a project about some fantasy cards with players.
Yeah,
with
they are making it outside of Rift Legends. I don't think it is a Rift Legends project. initiative.
I think that's great because if you do it under Riff Legend, it's their IP. But if you do it outside, I think Riff Legend should definitely take that as a positive thing and accept them and push them in, like
somehow engage,
build a brand around them.
that,
Yeah.
mention that during on their social medias, maybe broadcasts. So incorporate that into the brand.
So that's
right?
the final thing. Like
you've mentioned streamers, or do you want to just end
no, that's the final thing.
So you've mentioned streamers, and I wonder how much do they contribute to the success of Riff Legends from your perspective?
I think they definitely are stealing the show. They're definitely more than it's for me a very contradicting topic because on one end Riff Legend dies as a brand and they are the brand. People are watching because of them. It happened the same in EBL back in EBL days when we were there. There was a guy I would compare him with Nitrožnjak and Baka Prase. He's like from Serbia, a big influencer, and he made his own team. Before him the viewership was like around 1,000 euro concurrent. After him 15 to 20, 30 was average.
Wow.
That's the peak EBL got, and that's when they got their first, let's say, tender license for official EBL to form when ERL started. And the moment he left the league, it dropped down to, again, 700, 800, finals, 3,000. So that's the thing, like, they need to figure out with Ripson or with any other new future streamer that's coming or brand, how do they not let them steal the show, but also like contribute into growing Riff Legends, you know?
Or how do you make him stay even though he might not be willing to continue playing?
And that's kind of all the ERLs are small franchise forms, and we are all signing our participation agreements year on year, and it's on Riff Legends. Let's say it's their job to figure out how to keep us. Doesn't matter if we're a streamer team or and the contradictory part is, to finish the topic, I think it's kind of between, is this a professional team? Are we going for professional esports or are we going for content? So in Ripson's case, there's a lot of professional players there and you cannot compare the two. But same would go as, for example, Los Ratones in NLC.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of ex-pros, current pros, and let's say streamers at the moment. But they have this professional approach and they do content on the side. That's the best mix. And
I feel like FMS is following in their footsteps.
So if you have this approach, it's going to be successful. If you have an approach, we're just going to invite a bunch of streamers and do it, it's just going to flop. And as well, if you only do the professional part, which let's say Z10 is trying to do, you're also not going to grow as a brand as well. So I definitely am stuck between what is the next decision to go with. And we will figure it out. I can't leak stuff.
Hopefully. Maybe next time we meet here, we will be able to talk about it. Yeah. I wanted to finish up our conversation because it is already long, but really interesting. Thank you for that, with some more controversy. I mean, Waluciak, you know this guy. He's known to the community as well. And he has this tendency to go online and say really shocking and controversial stuff. I've already asked him about. I've already asked about him. Well, you can see that I have been casting.
You already asked him about it, yeah.
So I wanted to look at your perspective about his words online.
Yeah.
You know, how do you think that CEOs' tweets, opinions, stuff that he uploads online presents or has influence over his own brand in form of his organization?
There's always going to be people that appeal to that behavior, and there's going to be people that want to kind of distance themselves from it. As well as when it comes to sponsors, and as well, some are going to like the rage bait drama that's going to bring the views and the numbers, and some are going to be, hey, I don't want to be a part of this. So it's very split between which path you want to take. Do you want to take the path of let's say creating content, being that dramatic person? There's a lot of people in this field who created a brand out of themselves just from that behavior, and I think they're very successful at it as well. I don't personally judge it. I think it's as long as it's under the guidelines, the TOS of the leagues and the participations they are part of, they consent to them. I think as long as there's a border to that, it's totally like go unhinged, do whatever you want. But I don't honestly care as much. I think personally...
Oh, so you don't really care about those words? Because
I don't.
He
it's
did
funny.
say some not nice stuff about you, some mean stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. When someone throws something at you on social media, you either walk it off and don't answer, or you engage with it. If you engage with it in a way where you're the victim, you're just gonna end up...
Sure, but there's like a fine line between him going online and bantering and him going online and calling you stuff that I don't know if is regulated, but in some countries is regulated.
Yeah.
And you obviously have league officials. Are you satisfied with the response of Rift Legends to his words? Because he obviously was racist.
Yeah, I think it's a very touchy topic of what's racism, what's but yeah, I get what you mean. The Rift Legends took a long time to respond to it. I think I'm not satisfied with that. I think these are the openings where we can pressure Rift Legends into doing stuff. So we definitely did that. We pressured them every day that it's very unprofessional. They need to do it. If they can do it, we can do it, right? So we always go for that. But me personally, I didn't get offended. I don't care. I found it very funny. And I also engaged back with him in some ways which are not as offensive, but definitely to trigger him. And I think the rivalry from that aspect is very good for the scene. I think people need to get attached to those moments and then, capitalize a LAN final or something based on that. But when you think about it, I think I talked to some people behind the scenes, and they told me that in the whole Anonymous, they don't like if you're associated with anyone from Z10. So I think it's like a mindset there.
Oh,
it's not really him personally.
It's not this one guy, but it's
which is also funny because I'm close friends with I think his name is Shubek. Is it Shubek? No, Shubek.
Who is he?
The ex-owner of Anonymous.
Suvek.
Ah,
Suvek.
I'm bad with names.
It's fine.
But I'm close friends with him, right?
Yeah, he does a lot of business, yeah.
Yeah, so from a business point, we do stuff outside of esports together. And it's, he reaches out to me and he's like, just ignore the social media stuff. And I'm like, okay. I'm mature enough not to let it...
You're above that.
Yeah,
I can feel it.
Yeah, but I find it...
moral authority.
I find it very funny, very engaging. I think I don't want to endorse that behavior, so that's where you cross the line. But if anyone is worried, what's the worst that can happen, The best that can happen is we get a boxing match between me and him, and I put him in the ground, right?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, but
I would pay to watch that.
Yeah, I would make side bets on it,
Is this some form of an offer, Waluciak? Can we invite him to a boxing match between the two of you?
Maybe.
I'm really curious.
I don't know how big he is. So
he's definitely shorter than you.
Yeah.
But he might be. I don't know if you probably are in the same weight, let's say, category.
Because I don't want to end up
mismatch
beating a kid. So yeah. But anyways, I think from that point, things going to that direction is fun, engaging, entertaining. Obviously, there should be lines that shouldn't be crossed because there was a lot of questions on my point. I don't know. I had some xenophobic things that I said that certain...
You did or he did?
No, I had a statement that certain behaviors from certain people in Ultraliga are xenophobic, where they feel that their nation is much more superior towards others, or rather they undermine other nations, undermine other cultures, and might not necessarily be the truth. Maybe I exaggerated, right? We talked about it, but I definitely pointed out my statement on that. And
was that a vague statement, or did you actually point
we actually had
names?
We actually had our sport psychologists who work with our Korean players on the pressure from social media they got.
Yeah.
Because when they lost, it was all these fraud Koreans, blah, 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 blah. And when they won, it's all these guys brought steroid Koreans, you know, who don't sleep, who are basically, you know, like slaves and whatever, and they're like robots.
Yeah.
So it's a non-compete, right? So it definitely affected my team. It definitely affected their mental state and their performance to a point where it grew out from the being offended into being a meme. Stop milking those Koreans, right? So I still think that once we bring a topic outside, let's say Waluchek and the things he did, that they're not acceptable, the whole community grows from it. I don't think there's going to be a new Waluchek anytime soon with those statements. I think he's one of a kind. So that's at least, he's also shaping the community in a positive way by being the example that shouldn't be acceptable.
What do you think you would have to do in order to, like, gain respect of Waluchek? Can you change your own perspective? Like, can you change your own persona to him?
I think not. I think he's crazy.
Or do you think you will ever remain a villain too?
I think he's crazy and he doesn't care whatever I do. He's gonna have a certain hate towards me and Z10, and I respect that. You know?
So the only thing you can do is beat him in.
Yeah, the only thing I can do is
boxing match.
Put him in the ground on Rift Legends.
Honestly, I feel like this is the best idea or the best thing that we could finish this interview on.
Yeah.
I solely want to see that boxing match. So hopefully it will happen. HEBI, thank you so much for, taking your time and also being honest, being upfront, talking about all that stuff. And well, I'm happy to have conducted the first interview with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
hopefully
grateful.
many more.
Yeah.
And well, that was HEBI. My name is Maguire, and we'll probably see you on this channel with more interviews. Unmuted. Yeah, unmuted. That's what we are called. Unmuted. Press like button. Press subscribe. I've never been a content creator, so it is my first time as well.
Like, share, subscribe. Talk about this with your friends.
I have to work on that.
Comment.
Yeah, definitely.
Say mean things about me.
We want to hear your voice. I want to see comments.
I read all the comments, so even if it's in Polish, I translate through it.
Anything that you would like to say to Polish viewers?
I learned recently, I'm learning Polish as I go, but my favorite new words are smacznego, rather, if someone was eating while watching this. Also, when we have a person being a bit off in Z10, or we say nie podskakuj, szalony pajacu.
Nie podskakuj, szalony pajacu. Yeah. God damn, you nailed it. Yeah. I mean, you're getting better and better and better.
I'm learning a lot of stuff, so what I would say is just I think these initiatives are great for bonding the community with what's happening. I think what's behind the scenes needs to be more said about and talked about publicly.
You've got to address it.
Yeah, I would be even down to, even though there's confidentiality, I would even down in CS you have full, transparent, conscious of players, conscious salaries, lengths, yada yada. Obviously, you have lengths in Riot, GCD, GDC, whatever. But I feel if we talk more about it, we can grow together the scene. I would also like to...
Everybody would benefit from that.
Yeah. I think everyone is... The biggest problem in Polish esports right now is we're all sitting at the same table and there's room for everyone and food for everyone. And we're fighting over who's going to be at the top, which is pointless. Because we need to work together into building this brand, building the community.
We've got to learn how to coexist and share.
And the Unmuted podcast is one of the initiatives that's definitely going to improve it.
That's amazing. That's the perfect note to end that. Once again,
Thank
you. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in other videos on the Unmuted channel.